Hello and welcome to Calico Flower Studio. I'm Danny, and today I'm coming to you from my new space. So I'll take a moment to show you around, and then I am going to work in my journal and play around with this compositional experiment that I have. I'm thinking about doing it on a larger piece, so I just wanted to feel it out first in my journal. And I'll share with you my thoughts on what worked, what didn't work, what I learned from this process. And yeah, as I'm doing all of this too, I am kind of reflecting on ideas around renewal and repurposing, which are things that I'm constantly thinking about in my art practice, but are also things that really play an important role in my life in general. So please subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, just enjoy the process.
So here it is. This room has been reborn as my home studio. It's always refreshing to switch things up a bit at home. I'm still settling in, but having a dedicated space has definitely given me a renewed sense of excitement about my creative practice. And this blank canvas on the wall is what I'm thinking about as I work in my journal today. This is actually a repurposed canvas, believe it or not. It was an old painting from like 10 years ago. I just unstretched it, turned it inside out, and restretched it on the stretcher bars. I repurpose materials a lot in my art, which I'm sure comes as no surprise considering that I am a collage artist. I love repurposing frames, canvases, and wood panels, and things I find at the thrift store. I really enjoy giving found or used objects new life in my work. There's always a little bit of history that peeks through when I do this, which is fascinating to me. You can see on these wood panels that I thrifted and then painted, some of the characteristics from the original object still remain. Aside from canvases and frames and wood panels, my materials are almost entirely secondhand or found or repurposed. Like all this fabric and yarn that was given to me, my collage scraps that come from all sorts of places, and of course, my handmade paper is made of like junk mail and other papers that would otherwise be discarded. I have a special place where I collect all that sort of stuff. So anyway, what do I have in mind for this canvas? I was thinking of trying something specific with my collage pieces, but I wanted to test it out in a journal page first and share the process with you. There are a few things that come to mind that inspired this idea. I was thinking about how, in many of my sessions on here, I give you a little tour of my collage pieces before I begin. And sometimes there's a story behind the pieces. But the main purpose is to show you that each collage piece is special and unique. So I like to give them each their little moment in the spotlight before they become part of a larger composition. So with this, I was like, what if I made art that simply honored the beauty of each collage piece individually? But, they would still be displayed as a collection. Something else that made me think of this was the process of making my Let Go series. I would separate all the pieces that I picked out and somewhat organize them so I could pick them up one by one and drop them into the composition. I was drawn to the way they all looked spread out like that. It was a work of art in itself. It looked scientific in a way. My brother is an entomologist, actually, which is an insect expert, And this also reminded me of the glass cases of specimens that he puts together, where he would display butterflies and moths and whatnot. Even though it's very academic and maybe even morbid to some, it's also kind of beautiful. So anyway, these collage pieces are like my specimens. Now that I've selected my pieces, I'm going to arrange them by color so that I can easily create a balance. So here they are, splayed out and ready. I am enjoying the way they look in this rainbow formation. I'm going to try to evenly distribute the different colors here. However, in the future, I could experiment with placing similar colors together instead of trying to spread them all out. For this, I'm envisioning rows with similarly sized pieces in each row. But again, I feel like there are so many different ways to create this type of piece. Let's see how I feel about this approach. So as I'm placing these, I'm considering size and shape, color, texture, and other features, and how they all talk to each other, even though the pieces aren't physically making contact. What conversations are happening between the pieces simply through this proximity? Well, hello there, baby girl. This is Dahlia. You may already know her from many of my other sessions. She's right on time, just as I am well into this very organized and systematic process. She's here to provide some chaos. I could shoo her away, but I love when she visits me, so I won't. I wouldn't trade these moments for the world. And here is the aftermath. The great thing about documenting the process is that I can easily backtrack to where I left off. I did lose one piece here, which I am sure hitchhiked a ride on Dahlia's fur, and I'll find it somewhere in the apartment later. I also set aside these pieces of tissue paper just in case she comes back. She just likes to sit on stuff, so if I have this pile of paper all ready for her, I know she won't be able to resist. So, back to it. One thing that is a common thread throughout my practice is the materials that I use, which always allude to a theme of repurposing, renewal, and cycles. You know, artists are often advised to stick to one style, quote unquote style, that makes their work distinct and identifiable. And sometimes I worry about whether or not I'm trying too many different things or whether my work is cohesive enough. But I was refreshing my artist statement the other day, and I realized that even though my work takes various forms, one element has remained the same for years. And that is my habit of repurposing materials. As my statement says, I'm an advocate for the potential of scraps. All my scraps carry a similar energy, though, because they're all from my journey and are selected and shaped by my hands. So yeah, this theme of renewal is super important to me. And it's what connects all the work that I do. Even as I incorporate other themes and ideas, the material is still there, representing the overarching ethos of my practice. I often think about the cyclical nature of the universe when I think about my materials. I can be quite sentimental about objects, saving them and imbuing them with their own kind of spirit. However, much like the forces of nature, I intend to loosen my grip and become less precious with the minutiae of my work, and allow some things to be deconstructed and reborn into new forms. While my work may present itself in various compositions, the materials, the matter, all come from the cyclical ecosystem of stuff that passes through my life and my studio. This practice challenges me to balance sentimentality with a willingness to let go, embracing natural cycles of destruction and rebirth. To me, this process is profound and deeply meaningful, and it connects my materials and my personal narrative with a universal rhythm. So yeah. All right, so what do I think is working? What do I like? What do I not like? Well, I think that for something like this, I would prefer a less textured background, like a more clean, flat, and plain colored background. Maybe like a white background? I think that that would allow some of the texture of the collage to stand out a bit more. Compositionally, I think I want to try something that feels more spontaneous, or even something that goes from large pieces to small pieces, from one corner to another, or just being totally random but still spacing the pieces out. Definitely want to play around with that. I like how this feels like a pattern, but it definitely needs to be on a different background. Maybe I'll try that on another day. I like this idea though, because it is celebrating the pieces in and of themselves, just as they are. Thank you so much, as always, for spending your time with me as I process art and life through the lens of mixed media. Please subscribe and support the channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know how you feel about repurposing, or maybe let me know in what ways you may experience renewal in your life. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and take good care.